React less, win more. The most life-transforming speech. Napoleon Hill inspired.
You will never rule your life until you stop letting everything outside of you dictate what happens inside of you. The world is loud. People are loud. Your phone is loud. The news is loud. But the loudest of all is your reaction to it. Because most people don't respond to life, they react to it. Impulse by impulse, emotion by emotion. They are not creating, they are defending. Not directing, just surviving. They move like leaves in the wind, blown by every insult, every delay, every moment of discomfort. But let me ask you this. What would your life look like if nothing could shake you? Not rejection, not judgment, not failure, not even success. What would your life look like if you could remain grounded when everything around you was trying to pull you off center? Because here is the truth. Every time you overreact, you give away your power. You hand it over to a stranger's opinion, to a traffic jam, to a comment, to a missed opportunity. But every time you pause, every time you choose your response, you take that power back. The most successful people in history were not the loudest. They were the calmest, the most focused, the most deliberate. Lincoln was known for staying silent when criticized. Edison kept building despite 10,000 failures. Ford didn't react to being laughed out of rooms. They didn't get pulled into petty debates, emotional spirals, or the distractions of doubters. Why? Because they were too busy building. And when you're building something, when you're walking a road, few understand you can't afford to be thrown off course every time life doesn't go your way. Reacting is the habit of the ordinary. Choosing is the discipline of the extraordinary. Look at your life right now. Where are you bleeding energy? How often do you check your phone the moment you feel discomfort? How often do you argue with people who have no impact on your destiny? How often do you spiral mentally over things that won't matter in 5 years? These are not random habits, they are patterns. And those patterns are stealing your time, your peace, your clarity. You're not tired because of the work. You're tired because of the friction of constantly reacting. Every distraction you chase is a delay in your mission. Every reaction is a detour from your destiny. And if you want to become something uncommon, you must stop responding like everyone else. Because here's what most people don't realize. Reaction is emotional debt. You pay for it later in lost focus and wasted time and missed opportunities. Every moment you spend in emotional chaos is a moment you are not building, not evolving, not mastering. But when you respond, when you choose, when you breathe instead of breaking, you are rewiring the most powerful machine. You own your mind. You are sending a signal to your nervous system that says, I run this, not the environment, not the phone, not the comment, me. And that signal becomes your identity. Let me tell you something the world won't. The calmest man in the room is usually the most dangerous, not because he's cold, but because he's trained. Trained not to react to nonsense. Trained to protect his energy. Trained to see 10 steps ahead instead of fighting battles that don't matter. Because when you react, you're playing their game. But when you respond, you're still playing yours. That's where you win. That's where power comes from, not in controlling the world, but in mastering your response to it. And don't confuse this with weakness. It's not about being passive, it's about being precise. You don't respond slowly because you're afraid, you respond slowly because you're strategic. You speak when it's time to speak. You move when it's time to move. You lead when others are still flinching. This is what separates amateurs from professionals. This is what separates the overthinkers from the achievers, the reactors from the rulers. The weak shout, the wise move in silence. You can't live your purpose if you're constantly pulled by emotion. You can't stay consistent if your mood leads the mission. You can't evolve if your triggers are in control of your time, your mind, your peace. So here's the truth. Until you master your reactions, you'll stay stuck. Not because you lack ability, but because you keep bleeding attention. Every time you react to a petty drama, every time you take the bait, every time you spiral over something small, you are handing the steering wheel of your life to chaos. And chaos does not lead to greatness. Focus does. Discipline does. Emotional intelligence does. Silence does. You want to win more? React less. Let people misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them try to provoke you. Let them not get it. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't need to explain yourself to people who haven't earned your energy. While they talk, build. While they scream, move. While they judge, elevate. Your progress will do more for your legacy than any reaction ever could. And when people see you winning without reacting, they'll wonder how you stayed so grounded, how you stayed so poised, how you stayed so locked in while they lost themselves in noise. But they won't see the hours you spent rewiring your habits. They won't see the moments you bit your tongue. They won't see the war you won inside yourself before you ever won on the outside. And that's fine, because you didn't do it for their applause. You did it for your peace, for your power, for your path. And you're going to keep walking that path with less reaction and more domination. Because let me tell you something, most people never learn. It's not the blow that breaks you, it's the way you respond. The punch isn't what knocks you out, it's how you fall into it, how you carry it, how you let it echo in your mind for days, weeks, years. But the one who knows who they are, who has trained their response, they take the hit and stay standing. You don't have to flinch at every sharp word. You don't have to spiral at every mistake. You don't have to fight every fire just because it's burning. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Just breathe. Just observe. Just stay still while everything tries to pull you into its chaos. That's not weakness. That's mastery. And you know what happens when you stop reacting? You gain time. You gain focus. You gain clarity, the kind of clarity that makes you faster, sharper, more precise than you've ever been. Because here's what's really happening when you stop reacting. You slow down your nervous system. You widen the space between trigger and response. You give yourself a chance to lead with wisdom, not instinct. And that space, that tiny sacred space between what happens and how you respond, that's where your future is written. That's where you choose who you are. Not in the comfort, not in the praise, but in the pause. Let them think you're slow. Let them think you're quiet. Let them think you don't care. Because while they're exhausting themselves, you're calculating. While they're reacting, you're winning. You're stacking focus. You're saving energy. You're building in silence. And when the moment comes, you move. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. Not from emotion, but from alignment. And when you move from that place, you don't miss. Because that's what real power is. Not volume, not noise, but precision. The world tells you to be real, to be raw, to express everything. But real doesn't mean reactive. Real doesn't mean spilling your soul into places that can't hold it. Real is measured. Real is intentional. Real is knowing when to speak and when to remain unshakably silent. And when you master that balance, you no longer get pulled into low vibrations. You rise above drama. You become untouchable to the chaos of others. You stop bleeding energy for validation. You stop leaking peace for the sake of proving a point. Because when you have nothing to prove, you become truly free. You want to know why the greats move in silence. Because they've already fought the war you're still avoiding. The war within, the war between the old self that reacts and the higher self that decides. They've trained themselves to stay calm when criticized, to stay focused when triggered, to hold their peace when tempted. And that's why the world follows them. Because while everyone else is being pulled, they are being drawn forward by something deeper: vision, purpose, self-control. And that level of control that's not found in books, that's not found in motivation, that's found in the moments you could react and choose not to. You become the kind of person people don't challenge, not because you're aggressive, but because your presence commands respect. You become the kind of person who walks into a storm and stays dry, not because you control the weather, but because you control your temperature. You become the kind of person who speaks less and says more. And the best part, you're not doing it to look impressive. You're doing it because you've outgrown noise. You've tasted focus. You've touched real power. And you've realized reaction is weakness disguised as urgency. Now ask yourself, how much longer will I let emotion lead my life? How much longer will I keep repeating the same cycles because I react before I think? How many more years will I lose to the same distractions? This isn't about shame, it's about wake up. Because every moment you react without control, is a moment you delay who you were meant to become. Every time you lose your temper, every time you spiral in anxiety, every time you impulsively quit, run, lash out, retreat, you're giving the keys of your destiny to something outside of you. And that ends now. Because from this moment on, you don't let anything outside of you define what happens within you. You breathe, you observe, you choose, you lead. You respond not because it's easy, but because it's powerful. And the more you choose presence over panic, the more you'll see your life bend in the direction of greatness, not because the world got easier, but because you stopped reacting like you were small. You stopped living like your emotions were the boss. You stopped apologizing for your standards. You stopped responding to things that never deserved your energy in the first place. And you started living like someone who knows, the more I react, the more I lose. The more I choose, the more I win. You want to change your life. Start with how you respond when it doesn't go your way, because life will test you. It will delay what you thought would come fast. It will break what you thought would last. It will betray, surprise, and confuse you. And when it does, you'll have two options: react emotionally or respond intelligently. Reacting is easy. Anyone can explode. Anyone can complain. Anyone can storm out when it gets hard. But responding, that takes strength. That takes control. That takes a level of awareness that only comes from real inner work. And the deeper you go into yourself, the fewer things you'll feel the need to respond to. Because you'll know not everything deserves your attention. Not every fire is yours to put out. Not every invitation to chaos is one you have to accept. You were not born to fight every battle. You were born to win the war of self-mastery, the war of mental dominance, the war of becoming the kind of person who moves with precision and not panic. And the truth is, every person you admire, every leader you respect, they didn't get there by reacting to everything. They got there by choosing, deliberately, consistently, powerfully. They understood that the one who waits to respond wins more than the one who rushes to speak. Because the man who reacts fast often regrets fast. But the one who breathes before he speaks, he rules the room. He owns the moment. He directs the energy. He wins. When you stop reacting, your clarity multiplies. You start hearing things others don't hear, seeing angles they miss, feeling moments that would otherwise pass you by in noise. This is what makes the difference between good and great. Not more effort, not more talent, just more control over your own inner world. Because the one who has mastered himself needs nothing else. He doesn't need the room to agree. He doesn't need the past to make sense. He doesn't need every plan to go perfectly. He only needs the next breath and the clarity to take the right step forward, react less, win more. Not because you're detached, but because you're directed. You're not cold, you're calculated. You're not numb, you're grounded. You're not quiet because you're weak, you're quiet because you've already decided. And when you live that way, everything shifts. You'll start noticing how few things actually matter, how few voices are worth your time, how little drama it takes to destroy a week, if you let it. But you won't let it anymore. Because you've outgrown the need to participate in chaos. You've learned the discipline of walking away, of holding your peace, of knowing your mission. And when you're focused on your mission, distraction becomes laughable. You've spent enough of your life reacting to people who don't matter, letting your mood swing because of a text, losing a whole afternoon because of one minor setback, sabotaging your future because you couldn't hold your emotion. You've already seen where that road leads. It leads to exhaustion, it leads to confusion, it leads to a version of you that's always surviving, never leading. But that's not who you are anymore. Now you breathe, now you pause. Now you respond like a leader because that's who you've become. And the world will feel it. They'll feel your gravity. They won't know what changed, but they'll feel your energy. It's different now. It's still. It's focused. It's dangerous in the best way. Because the calmest person in the room is always the one with the most power. Not because he demands it, but because he doesn't need to. He doesn't react, he rules. Not people, not titles, not applause. He rules himself. And in a world addicted to reaction, that kind of man is rare. That kind of woman is unshakable. That kind of presence is magnetic. So the question is no longer, how do I win more? It's where am I still reacting like I'm powerless, and what am I willing to do today to reclaim that power? The next time someone insults you, pause. The next time you're triggered, breathe. The next time you want to explode, wait. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally in control. And that control, that's how you win. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to respond to every slight. You don't need to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to prove your strength with volume or speed. Because your silence is power. Your stillness is proof. Your restraint is your weapon. And your control, that's what makes you lethal. You want to win more? Then stop leaking energy in 1,000 directions. Reclaim your fire. Redirect your focus. Build the life you came here to build, not the one that reacts to everyone else's. You were not created to be a puppet of emotion. You were created to lead. You were not meant to collapse at the first sign of stress. You were meant to rise under pressure, to speak when it counts, to move when it matters, to act from vision, not impulse. You can live your whole life pulled around by things that don't matter, or you can master yourself and build something that does. You can live as a victim of your nervous system, or you can train it, forge it, sharpen it until you respond with calm and execute with conviction. This is your turning point. Not because it's the first time you've been here, but because it's the first time you're choosing differently. This time you won't take the bait. This time you won't spiral. This time you won't throw away your peace to prove a point. This time you'll hold the line. Because you're not here to win arguments. You're here to win your own mind. And the mind that is calm, clear, and decisive rules everything it touches. You want to know why most people never build anything lasting? Because they're too busy reacting to things that don't matter. Too busy flinching at discomfort. Too busy proving themselves to people who don't even know their own direction. But that's not you anymore. You've chosen the higher road, the quieter road, the powerful road. The road of the one who doesn't rise and fall with emotion, but who moves through life with intention, like a blade through fog. The road of the one who responds like a king, not reacts like a child. And now you see it clearly. Reaction is noise. Response is music. Reaction is chaos. Response is command. Reaction is weakness. Response is royalty. You are done letting the world decide your direction. You are done letting moods make your decisions. You are done giving your future away one knee-jerk at a time. From this moment on, you are grounded, rooted, clear, strategic, unshakable. You don't need more motivation. You need more mastery. You don't need to learn how to hustle harder. You need to learn how to react less. Because the one who reacts the least often wins the most, and now you know why. So walk with that truth. Breathe with that truth. Build with that truth. Speak only when necessary. Move only with intention. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Because your time is not free. Your mind is not a playground. Your future is not up for negotiation. It belongs to the one who responds with clarity and leads with discipline. And that one is you. React less. Win more. Own less. Command more. Say less. Become more. This is the power they don't teach in school. This is the calm they can't take from you. This is the presence the world follows. And it all begins when you stop reacting and start ruling.